5 centimeters per second is a 2007 Japanese anthology romantic drama animated film written and directed by Makoto Shinkai. Told in 3 chapters, the story follows close friends Tono Takaki and Shinohara Akari as their bond is tested after Akari relocates to a different city. Though they try to stay in touch, they find it difficult to express their true emotions. Alrighty, so I watched 5 centimeters per second. I am very much a fan of Makoto Shinkai's work. I think he makes some of the best Japanese animated films, such as Your Name or Garden of Words. I still have to see Weathering with You. I was actually between 5 centimeters per second and Weathering with You of which film to watch next. But anyways, yeah, so I've watched this film. It's quite short, only like an hour basically, but I have to start off by saying this was a very highly realistic and emotionally resonant film. It talks about the deep pain of having a first love, and the difficulty of moving on. Obviously, I sort of expected that, if it's created by Makoto Shinkai, then obviously it's going to be like a heart-wrenching gut punch. And so obviously this was, quite, yeah, I don't know. It was quite a sad watch, to be honest. A lot of the characters are very moody, quite a bit depressing at some points. But what I really loved about this film, and this is like the biggest praise I could give towards this, is that it embraced a more grounded and bittersweet conclusion than I expected. It's not necessarily like a resolution, The last line about, seeing cherry blossoms. Cherry blossoms are like a huge metaphor in this film. And I believe I might be wrong about this. I might be misremembering, but I believe the whole metaphor of like 5 centimeters per second is like a leaf of a cherry blossom falls at 5 centimeters per second or something like that. But I don't know, that whole like metaphor, there's like a callback towards it again towards the end, and I just thought it was it resonated with me a lot. And I thought the ending song especially, there's this guy towards the end, he sings the song for like the last 2 or 3 minutes, just like absolutely nails it. It was awesome to hear. Yeah, I think that definitely left some sort of lasting emotional impact as well. And I thought it was a perfect match. Overall, the music entirely was a perfect match for the story's sorrow, the sorrow and remorse that we feel for not, articulating how much we reciprocate one's love and energy toward another. This movie also explores thematically, the emotional weight of one-sided love, let alone, reciprocated love that is never fully articulated. So it also explores one-sided love where, you love someone so much, but, they don't necessarily know that you do. Or they don't give off that reassurance that, hey, I like you back as well. And so I thought, of course, very relatable. And it also explores, the haunting memories of someone you loved once deeply when you were incredibly young. The way this is, of course, 3 chapters, so it's shot like sort of chronologically as well. First chapter is like, the 2 characters are relatively young. Second chapter is like high schoolish, and then obviously the last chapter is, sort of that resolution phase, which, again, it was pretty bold and ambitious. I actually didn't expect it to like go down that direction, but I appreciate it nonetheless. A flaw I sort of have with this film, it has actually to do with the second chapter. The second chapter actually has like a subplot with this character named Kane, I believe, or Kane, I forget how it's pronounced. But she's a girl, and she sort of serves as like, it's sort of like another love interest, except we sort of see things from her perspective as opposed to like the actual protagonist that we've been following, which is like this dude. We see a lot of things from her perspective and how, she actually has a crush on our main lead protagonist, yet he's not aware. And so that's like the one-sided love that we sort of see. I thought it was a pretty interesting subplot. However, I thought it was a lot of filler. And it really served no ultimate purpose. There was no real payoff, especially, and this is, kind of a spoiler, she never really admits or confesses towards the end of how she felt towards him. And I understand that's like the whole, message of, people not people being too afraid to assert their emotions or like tell people how they truly feel. But I don't know, at that point, it sort of got repetitive, like people just this entire movie could on the surface level could just be seen as people just being too scared not to say anything throughout the entire duration of 1 hour, you know? We're really just watching people's thoughts and emotions, but they're not doing anything. Sometimes these characters feel a bit lifeless because they don't make any moves and because they're not doing anything. I'll say like there's some great monologues and some great dialogue bits, but like what does it matter if it has no payoff towards the end, you know? It really felt like the plot sort of lacked direction. Yeah, I don't know. I think also there were some gaps here and there, especially towards the characters. They have a loss of contact. I don't think that's really so towards the beginning, obviously when the girl moves to a different town, they communicate through letters. Towards some point that stops. I'm not sure if it was fully explicitly explained why as to how that happened, but at one point they really just stopped talking to one another. Yeah, I don't know, it just felt like I don't know, I think maybe I'm sort of comparing this to Your Name, and obviously in Your Name we sort of had like a similar thing where these characters lose contact, but towards the end they realize, oh my god, that's her or that's him, and so they have that like spiritual sort of connection. Here it's just like it's like they're close and then they depart, and in your mind you're thinking, oh, there might be like something that just might shoot them towards one another again, but it's just like it's really just like a slow burner. It's just them departing, and it just felt like there's no payoff towards the end because wow, you just really sat through an hour just watching people just, I don't know, just move on, I guess, but also not because they still think about each other. I don't know, that's sort of like, yeah, I didn't find it too impactful in that regard, I guess. But overall, though, the animation, the voice acting, the soundtrack, all of it is beautifully crafted. I have to give a huge shout out to the animation because I was watching this with a friend, and like every other shot of this movie felt like it could easily be like a lock screen wallpaper. It is so beautiful and it is so cinematic. It's honestly just remarkable. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think this film is still worth watching. I definitely think of the films that I've watched of Makoto Shinkai, so far it is my least favorite, but I definitely think it's still worth watching. Especially, of course, if you're a fan of Makoto Shinkai, he has always been great at emotional storytelling. I think even though he goes in a more ambitious and bold route of emotional storytelling in this film, I think it is still worth it to watch. But yeah, I think it's definitely best followed by other works that you've seen of his, like Garden of Words, Your Name, just so you could get a full grasp of, the direction that he takes with films. Because I don't necessarily agree with the direction he took with this one, but he's very experienced, he's very talented, and he makes great movies. So, yeah, I think definitely watch those films for more uplifting progression, but anyways, I'm going to give 5 centimeters per second a 7 out of 10. Yeah, so that's about it. See ya. Hope you enjoyed.